Hey, Coach. Super excited you found us on YouTube. Couple things. First of all, go subscribe right now so you don't miss anything. We put up something every day. Great resources. That's the first thing. Second thing is go over and check out teachhoops.com for coaches who want to get better. If you want to win some state championships, you want to coach some professional guys, let me help you do that. Save time. Someone that's done it for 30 plus years. I'm here to help. Just go over and check us out at teachhoops.com, and let's head off to the video.
All right, welcome to Coach Unplugged, episode 1300 something. I was talking to one of my, again, off air, we were talking about one of my students, but I was talking to one of my students and we're talking about my podcast, and they go, well, how many you have? And I was explaining how many I have, and then I said, I've done like 1300. Their jaws literally dropped. And it was funny because it's like, I said, well, it's like 3 or 4 years worth of podcasts. And they go, oh, you must like that. Yeah. There's a lot of podcasts. Yeah. They go, you like to talk, Mr. Collins. I go, yep. I do like to talk. That's why I'm a teacher. So Andrew, I'm going to have you introduce yourself, kind of talk about your basketball journey. Like, yours is a little bit unique, I think, but I think that's what's intriguing. And that's one of the things I love about our podcast is it's not like, it's a wide range of voices, because I think you can learn something from everyone. So why don't you just explain kind of your basketball journey, and then I'll jump in here.
Sure. Yeah, I probably don't fit into the cookie cutter coach, at least what I perceive to be a cookie cutter coach. So I grew up absolutely in love with the game of basketball. Like my very first memory is sitting on a fold out bed with my dad watching, the Arizona Wildcats play basketball. It's been a central focus in my life. Play basketball 3-4 hours every single day, asphalt by myself, broken rim. That's Christmas morning, you get a new basketball, you just walk up to the basketball court. That's just like my life revolved around playing basketball. Having said that, I didn't play a lot of organized basketball. Just my family, we didn't quite have the opportunity to make games and transportation and things like that. So I played like maybe 1 year of middle school basketball. It was very unorganized in hindsight. In the middle of it, I didn't know any better, but went off to high school, played 2 years of high school basketball, freshman and sophomore year. After that, I got a job, so I didn't play a whole lot of even high school basketball. My freshman coach, honestly, I have very little memories. I just remember thinking like, oh, he doesn't understand basketball. Like he was probably just filling a role, doing the school a favor. My sophomore coach, my JV coach, I do feel like I can kind of pull from what he did. I actually messaged him not too long ago when I first got into coaching and just kind of thanked him. Like he made an impact on me for sure. But then after that, joined the military, played a lot of intramural leagues, but always in a pickup sense. So intramural leagues, it was officiated. We had a scoreboard and things like that, but not a whole lot of coaching going on either. Did that for over a decade-ish. And then got out and just started living my life. My kids started attending school, and an opportunity came up to kind of just help out with a junior high girls basketball team. I never stopped loving the game. So I dipped my toe in the water, and I wanted to immediately jump in the deep end, hooked. We had a terrible team, and I couldn't have loved it more. The girls loved it. I loved it. And I've been hooked since.
So a couple questions. First of all, you're from Arizona. So what percentage of people are Arizona fans? Like a lot, probably.
Okay.
Like Wisconsin.
So it's Tucson is definitely 100% Arizona, and then Phoenix is maybe like they're gonna probably. I live up in Phoenix now. Let's say 70 to 60% Arizona State, but the Arizona, at least in basketball, the Arizona Wildcats have a little bit of a majority there. But ASU, they've got a few.
And it was Olsen when you were there.
Yeah, yes, sir. Yeah.
Okay. And then let's talk about the military. So you were in the military. Were you stationed all over the world? And did you have, when do you have time to play basketball when you're in the military?
Yeah, no, I mean, at least with my job, it felt like a regular 9 to 5. I didn't, don't get me wrong. I played basketball in Iraq. I played in basketball tournaments in Iraq, Saudi Arabia, Germany. So I definitely had an opportunity to do all that. But, when you're not working, you could go to the gym and, hang out and ball just like any other job.
Interesting. Everything was on the base.
Yes. Yeah. So, and it was all, I was within the medical facility. we had a much higher population of females within the medical compared to like maybe Flightline or something like that. So we had a smaller percentage of individuals to choose from. So we always kind of felt like we were behind the 8 ball whenever it came time for our organization to compete with another one. But there's a few.
So that was the question I was asking.
Okay.
So is it like, so you have a base, like the people that do, I don't even know, the
Sure.
pilots play the medical, and the medical,
Something like that,
is that
yeah.
how kind of, I don't know.
Yeah. So there's a organizational structure that I won't get into here, but just at a certain level, depending on the size of the organizations. If you got 100 people, chances are you got 10 guys that play basketball.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay. All right. So you sent me some questions that you wanted to talk about. Do you want to shoot a couple of those and we can talk about those before I ask you specific questions?
Sure. So when my first year with coaching, I was an assistant coach to a JV girls team. 6 of our players were 5th grade girls, so we're playing against 8th grade girls. The program was really just decimated, So we just didn't have players stick around for more than a year. So when I came in that first year as an assistant, it was really just trying to teach fundamentals, and even as my first year as a head coach, I didn't even implement like an official offense. I just, spacing, movement. If you pass the ball, cut through, if we had decent spacing, that's really all we were trying to accomplish.
Okay. So that, first of all, perfect. Before you go on, perfect. That's what I would have done. That's like teaching them spacing. Okay. Keep going.
And then I just had an opportunity to coach the boys, and I did have some guys that played club basketball, so the skill level was a bit higher than my previous year with the girls team. So I did look up, as far as some offensive sets. This is kind of where my basketball journey comes into play, because I didn't have a lot of experience playing underneath a coach teaching offenses. So really, even though I played basketball my entire life, it wasn't really in an organized sense. So I had to honestly, that's kind of where I came to all the content that you put out. And I looked up different offenses and what might be a good fit for the skill set of the guys that I had. I ended up trying to implement the dribble drive offense because I do have a lot of guys that could handle the ball and kind of take it to the hoop. But honestly, in hindsight, after the year, we struggled to actually have that play an impact in the game. So now that my next season will be back with the girls. Everybody's a year older by now. We've got some 7th graders, and we actually have a decent team. But I'm not too sure what kind of offense to kind of implement. And maybe even a bigger question is, should it be different every year depending on the skill set, the team, or is could you kind of come up with yours and adjust this is your offense?
Okay. So are a couple questions. First of all, are these kids going a specific place?
Like the next high school, you're saying?
Yeah, is it a junior high into a high school, or is it just rec, or is there a path, or is it just them playing?
I would say half of the girls are playing at high school level when they leave as 8th graders, and then I'd say the majority of the guys are. And then out of those, 40% are all kind of being funneled to one high school, but it's kind of spread out. It's a charter school that I'm at, so it is kind of varied.
Okay. What do you feel comfortable teaching? Is the first thing I would ask.
Okay. And I would say anything. Yeah, I don't have any kind of preconceived hey, that's outside of my wheel or whatnot.
Okay. And how often do you get to practice?
5 days a week, about 2 hours. But I don't know what normal is, but I feel like we have a very short time from the beginning of the season to the first game. We only have about 2 weeks. But having said that, 5 days a week, 2 hours practice.
That's plenty. That's plenty.
Okay. Right.
That's plenty. No, that's normal. And actually for middle school, this is actually more than most junior high, middle schools probably practice. So I was thinking it was like 2 or 3 times a week, maybe. So that's good. So, which one do you want? Do you want to run the same thing with both, or do you
ideally? And again, I'm so ignorant with this. I kind of feel like if I could come up with one offense and then I can really learn every intricacy and really learn how to teach and lessons learned season.
So I would not do a structured offense. I think teaching them to play, especially in the middle school level, is important. I have no problem. I mean, we run a variation of the dribble drive too, so I think that's good. That depending on the level of you obviously have to dribble in the dribble drive. So depending on the level of the girls, that might be a little bit harder. Something both of them could run would be like a motion slash read and react kind of offense, where you give them a couple set of rules, you tell them where to stand, and everyone needs to be in these spots. Or you could do your own, where you can do kind of a hybrid of dribble, drive, read and react kind of thing. I would think I would start. So this is what I always tell people. I would try to figure out the skills that they're good at and the skills that you want to teach them.
Okay.
And then sit down with a piece of paper and figure out, okay, well, they can't dribble, so we can't run dribble drive. They don't really understand the game. We don't want to run straight. So I'm going to teach them some basic movements, screens, passes, cuts, kind of things. So I think that's where I think they're separate entities probably, especially the way you've described them. I don't know. I don't think A necessarily fits B. Maybe.
Sure.
A dribble drive with guys is they can shoot and they can attack and they can pass would
Right.
work pretty well. And if you're worried about time in a shortened season or whatever it is, I would think that would be. And then what you do is, so I say that's the main course, but then the dessert and the appetizer and all that stuff is okay. Here's my out of bounds plays. Here's my quick hitters. Here's my 2 or 3 sets where I got to get player X the ball because we haven't scored, kind of thing.
Right.
So you got to come up with the main course, and then you can supplement the main course with vegetable. I mean, whatever.
Sure.
I don't need to use an analogy, but I think that's where I would start.
Okay.
I have no problem with the dribble drive. I think if you feel good about it, the girls could probably run it, but you're gonna have to spend some time on that 2 hour window working on their dribbling.
Sure. Right.
Yes, I don't know. If only half of them are playing after middle school, then maybe not. But I mean, what were you leaning to before we started talking?
I was not leaning to any specific offense. Having said that, and maybe my first year coaching an offense, I didn't see a whole lot of success with the dribble drive. There's a part of me that just wants to say, okay, that wasn't it. Let me try something else. But then I don't want, after a year of that, be like, I didn't find success with that. Let me try something else. I don't want to just keep bouncing around. Or again, maybe that's what I do because, the turnover is going to be fairly high. I'm only going to get players for a couple years.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. So, and go and teach hoops and watch that course on picking an offense. I think that would
okay.
help because that will kind of situate. And we'll figure out like what I was talking about. Like you can do with a
Yeah.
set of post-its too. It doesn't matter. But what are we good at? What do we need to
Sure.
do? Location, all that kind of stuff. Um, okay. What was the other? There was another question on that list, but I forgot what was the other question you had?
So when I first jumped in, I'm the type to just do like a ton of research and try to hear 1,000 different voices and really start to piece together a picture.
Yes.
And somewhere in that, I couldn't even tell you where I heard it. I just got the vibe that if you just focus on zone defense, you're almost doing a disservice to your players, especially when they move up to the high school level. That a lot of high school coaches, they want individuals that understand man defense, are good at it. So especially at junior high, it's so easy to just like run a zone defense, pack it in. You can shoot all the threes you want. We're going to get the rebounds. You're not going to get any easy layups, but that might give me a couple more wins throughout the season, but then it might turn in over eighth graders that now have never played man defense, and now they're not making the team because of that.
I first of all, why do you think that is? Why do you
Which one?
think that? Why do you think that people play zone rather than man?
At least at the junior high level, it seems to be much more effective.
Yep. Here's what I think. I think it's more effective. I think it's easier to do, not necessarily well, but easier to
Sure.
do with
Right.
limited amount of time. Um, and it allows some variation, but I think it's easier to teach it in smaller amount of time. You can run a 2-3 zone and not run it very well and still take because they're not strong enough. They can't get the ball there. Most of them aren't going out and shooting 300 shots a day, blah, blah, blah. So they're going to miss.
Right.
And if you're in a zone, it's going to help. So, yes, letting your kids stay up till midnight every night makes they want to do it, but it's not good for them. It's similar. That's what I always say. It's like I always tell my youth coaches, it's like you can do it and you'll probably win a few more games, and everyone will love you. But you're doing them a disservice because they're going to be tired of school tomorrow because you let them stay up to midnight the last three. I mean,
Right.
whatever but yes, I would teach man, because I'm going to tell you, if a player knows how to play man to man, by the time they get to me at the high school level, I can teach them a zone in like a day.
Right.
Like,
Right.
because conceptually a zone is just yeah. Anyway, but I can't go the other way. It's a lot harder to go the other way.
Okay.
If they've only played 2-3 and they're really good at it and they get all the draw, that's great. But then me teaching them, funnel down or pack line or something else, it's brutal. It's brutal because I've had kids do that, and it's like I'm starting over from scratch. So yes, I would 100% agree. Play man, teach a man. You can change up man. You can do trapping man. You can do, like I said, the funnel. You can funnel on down the side. You can do pack line. You can do all sorts of different mans, and still get what you want to do in a zone. Teaching them out of the man principles. So yes, I would 100% agree. Stick with man. Get really good. Get your terms down. Get your vocabulary down. This is what we mean by we're going to use helpline. We're going to push, whatever it is. Come up with your glossary of these are my terms. And then you're just using those terms. And then by 6th, 7th, 8th grade, they know what you're talking about. Like you're not getting the helpline. You're not getting to the, gap. You're not getting into whatever it is. Come up with your terms. There's no right or wrong ones. There's ones that people use. But I think that will help a lot. So,
okay. All right, cool.
You wrote a quote about nice and not nice. What was that one?
So my overall demeanor is pretty calm, and kind of me just describing the program when I first came in. We had a very difficult time getting players back to want to play a second season. And so when I came in, I wanted to build up confidence. I wanted them to love the game. I wanted, them to leave practice excited. I wanted them to be excited about coming back to practice. So the majority of what I do is confidence building. And I'm also fairly quiet on the sidelines. I'm as vocal as I need to be in practice. I have no problem using my dad voice, but in a game, I find it very, I hear a lot of yelling that to me isn't logical. I'm like, that kid, when he heard that, that's not going to change A, B, or C. So with all that being said, I've just heard enough comments of the same thread as far as me being quiet, nice, you got to be harder on these kids, you got to do this or that. And I just kind of want a little check, hey,
Nope. First of all, don't be their, if you've listened to my podcast, don't be their last coach. You do not want to be their last coach, especially in the middle school level. Second of all, so I'm a math teacher. If I went in my room and acted like people do on a basketball court with my students, they would never want to learn any mathematics. Do you do that when your kids don't put the dishes in the dishwasher? You come home and start screaming. I mean, that's what there's this disconnect. No one wants. I mean, now don't get me wrong. There's times you got to correct, and it's don't run into the street or you're gonna get hit by a car.
Right,
I get it. There's times you have to reach. But these people are just they'll no, you are. There is no. If you're not teaching them, then obviously, if you're the nice buddy and you bring donuts every day to class and we don't do math, that's bad. But no, I think at the middle school level, you're trying to teach them, and especially at the youth level, you're trying to teach them the love of the game. Because that will just feed on, and then they'll play because it's a pyramid.
Yeah.
It's a pyramid. And who's at the top of the pyramid is Steph Curry and, Tatum. I mean, those guys are at the top of the pyramid. Most of us don't make it to the top of the pyramid.
Right.
Somewhere along the line, we drop off. Well, the bottom of the pyramid is elementary school. Then there's middle school, or junior high, and then there's high school, and then there's college, and then there's profession. I mean, so the point is we want them to keep loving the game and moving up the pyramid as long as they can. Because eventually everyone gets cut and everyone stops playing. Everybody. So I hate to break it to you. Michael Jordan's not playing basketball anymore. Doing something else, but at some point it ends. So I think I don't think as an educator, no. Can you be too nice? I think you wrote how nice is too nice.
Right.
I mean, like the example I gave, if you don't teach them anything and you're just their buddy and blah, blah, then you're not. Well, why are you coaching at that point? But I don't think you can at that level.
And what you said has kind of been my mindset as far as I want them to love the game. First of all, I love basketball. I want everybody to love the same thing that I love. But if I have a kid that loves basketball and I say, hey, like when you go home today, like get 100 free throws in. If the kid loves basketball, that's not going to seem like this insurmountable task. He's going to be up at the park anyways.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
that's their
Coach wants me
ego.
to.
Everybody, and I don't know if I've ever talked about this on the podcast, but everybody has I refer to it as ego food.
Mhm.
And if you're good at basketball, you're going to get fed, because it's like, if you're good at math, the ego is going to get fed. Like if you're, the kind of whatever, if you're a little businessman, you're mowing lawns, you're going to get fed. Like you're going to get paid and people are going to say, nice shot. So it's like you're feeding the monster at that point. And the kids that do that, to be honest with you,
Hey, Coach, hope you're liking the video. If you are, subscribe down below. That would be awesome. That will help us get noticed all over the web. Also, make sure you subscribe and hit that little bell up above. You get a notification when we put a new video up every day. That's good. Also, make sure you go over and check out teachhoops.com for coaches who want to get better.
constructive criticism can be higher because they want it.
Yeah.
They want the correction. They want that. So I'm not saying yelling, but I'm saying like, no, that's wrong. Don't do that. Do this, blah, blah, blah. They eat up learning. And it's like it's their love. Talk about the handout you sent me, because that's very intriguing as I'm sitting here looking at my monitors.
Okay. So actually, it was one of the documents that you had out as far as like a schedule throughout the course of a year. Like not everything is just like in season, but like what are some steps that you could be doing out of season? And I forget the exact little, step that you described it as, but I kind of wanted to put a document together that I could send out to all of the players and parents as like, hey, this is the program that I'm looking to have this year. This is the program that I'm looking to build. Kind of let them know like who I am as a person, what I expect from the player, what I expect from the parents, goals across the season, just kind of like a 10-mile view of the program and what I'm looking to get.
No, it's like your pillars. I mean, as I'm looking at it, it's like you have headers. It's like things I value, what I love, what I need from you, the secret to becoming the best. Do you want more minutes? Do you want to play more? What do you have to do? I mean, all the things I think, seasonal goals, philosophy, parents, all those things. It's like, I was talking to a coach the other day. It's like a lot of parent issue. Over communicate is what I'm gonna say. Over communicate.
Yeah.
They won't always be happy with you, and you're not gonna get a Christmas card from some of them, but you just do what's right and over communicate, and that will take care of 97% of the problems.
I've heard a ton of horror stories from parents, and I've been blessed to I haven't had to experience any yet, but I know, so all my kids are club volleyball, basketball, club basketball, soccer, all, just tons and tons of, I'm the parent of a lot of youth athletics. And
Right.
so I've kind of learned like, okay, what do different coaches do and don't do that either makes me feel good as a parent of an athlete or not. And I had one coach that was like, hey, you are not allowed to talk to the coaches. Anything that you want to know, you have to ask your child, and then they have to ask us. And on one hand, to like kind of build the kid up to learn to have their own voice, I'm sure it plays a positive role, but I just felt very cut out of the process. And I love to be involved in my kids' athletics. So, one thing that I do at the beginning of the season is the complete opposite. About like 2 weeks into practice, maybe before our first game, I just kind of take a day and write down like one or two paragraphs, very detailed about their student or their child. Like how they are personality wise, like, well, how do they look in practice? What are they good at? What could they work on? And I just shoot that out to the parents. And I think what you're saying, over communicate, I think just things like that have helped me maybe avoid some of the parent stories that I've heard.
Yeah. I've coached a long time, and it's like it's hard to be rational with an irrational person, and it is what it is. It's I'm sure air traffic controllers have their issues too.
I've got a few.
Are you an air traffic controller?
No.
Oh, I'm going, oh crap. I'm going, I'm sure they got theirs, but no, I think it's great. I think this is a great, I mean, in what I tell people, when you do this and you do the pillars and you think about your flight, it's a living document. Like the one I had 25 years ago, if I looked at it now, it's like, holy crud, that's like, that
Sure.
wouldn't work.
Right.
Um, and the one I used 4 years ago probably wouldn't work now after post COVID, all this kind of, so
Yeah.
it's pivoting, it's moving, it's
Mhm.
changing, it's a living document, which I think is really great. And that's also a self-reflection, which I think is a wonderful thing from all of us in every aspect of our lives. Um, so quotes. You had a quote that you liked. What was your favorite quote? Do you remember?
I do. So I'm not generally much of a quote guy,
Okay.
but this one came from my dad, and he didn't even say it to me like a quote. And I don't even think when he said it, he intended to have this much of an impact in my life. But so I played football growing up, and like if he ever threw me a pass that went off my fingertips, and I came back with like, "Oh, Dad, like you overthrew me," he would tell me, "If you can touch it, you can catch it." And I've kind of used that as like a metaphor for personal accountability. Like if I have an opportunity for success and I don't succeed, there's 1,000 different ways I can point outward to say, oh, if they would have done that or if they would have done that. But ultimately, it was within my ability to succeed there. And I didn't. So what do I need to do better next time around? So if you could touch it, you could catch it.
Love that. Okay, so my daughter's into drama and acting and all that stuff. I'm going to use that. It's like, because basically her world is rejection more than acceptance.
Yeah.
Like think about that world. That
Mhm.
world is 97% rejection and
Sure.
3% acceptance. So it's like that's what I got to get her. I love that idea. Like if you can touch it, you can catch it. If you tried, you didn't get it. Why didn't you get it?
Right.
What
Yeah.
is like maybe you just didn't have blonde hair. There's a lot
Sure.
of uncontrollable things, and then can you control the controllables? I love
Exactly.
that.
Yeah.
Um, well, tell me why you picked the wooden book. I love that book.
It's one of the few coaching books that I've consumed so far. So it was the
Okay.
top of a short list. So actually, that was going to be one of the things that I asked of you is like, what's my next book? You tell me.
I'll send you a list. I got like
Okay.
150 in my
Okay.
thing. I'll send you a list. I'll put it in the show notes for people. But have you read Stuff Basketball Players Need to Know by Dick DeVenzio?
No.
Okay, it's a PGC book. You should read that. That's a
Okay.
great book. Easy read, easy read. And then you'll be able to grab things for that. It's really written for players. Um, it's not really, I mean, anyway, he wrote 3 or 4 books. You can grab one more for you if you want, but I'd start with that one. That's a great book. I like The Winner Within by Pat Riley. That's a great one. Because it talks about like the disease of me and building teams up. Um, I like the right book. I think it's The Right Way or something. That was a great book recently I read. I mean, obviously you can look at my behind me. It's like
Sure.
I used to read I listen now more than I read, actually. Audible's a wonderful thing.
I call that reading.
It's kind of reading, it's not, but I got a couple books. The Physics of Basketball is the one I
Mhm.
just bought.
Sounds like it speak to me.
Yeah, and the reason is, and I can't talk about it because I haven't read it yet, but like there's physics of rebounding.
Mm.
Like that's where I was doing some digging on rebounding because
Okay.
that intrigues me. And it's talking anyway. I won't dive into it too much, but the ball bounces a specific way when anyway. So
Sure.
it looks like it's a relatively. It doesn't look like basketball on a napkin, I think, or basketball on something is another great statistical one. That one's thick. Like
Okay.
you got to
Sure.
be
Meaty.
math into
Gotcha.
it. As a
Right.
stats teacher, I like it.
Sure.
This one doesn't look quite as mathy-ish. So I'll let you know that one's but I'll send you a list. I could keep going. I could talk
Okay.
20 days on books.
There is
Um
actually one thing that I do think is noteworthy of the wooden book that I did read is that the school that I coach at, the court is not regulation size. We only have about 12 inches from the 3-point line to the sideline. So
oh
the
my
corner,
gosh.
yeah. So the court, you can't do anything in the corners. It's very, very thin. And then from the top of the key to half court is super short. So I had a big athletic team for my boys this past season. We couldn't even run any fast breaks on home court. Like we almost look forward to going away just so that we can get out and run just because the court was so little. And like I I started to let it negatively affect my mindset too much. And I was listening to the Wooden book. And so when Wooden first went to UCLA, you know, he was sharing a gym with the gymnastics teams and cheer teams and all of these others, and the lighting was low, and they called it the BO barn, for body odor barn, and it just stunk and you could barely see, and 1,000 whistles going on. And I was like, if Coach Wooden could coach in that environment, the last thing I need to be doing is complaining that I only got 12 inches to
see. So my angle with that would have been, okay, I'm going to use this. This is going to be a hope. So how can I trap people in the corner? How can I push them into the corner? How can I, like, everything would be built around, and because I could sell it to the players at that point. Like, this is we don't lose here.
That seems so obvious. I'm embarrassed I didn't think of it. Thank you.
Oh yeah. But I mean, I would think about, like, okay, can I trap faster if it's short? I mean, I'd have to think about the shortness of the court as far as length goes, but I would funnel everybody to that corner.
Yeah.
What are they going to do?
Right.
And we're used to it because we practice it. Now all of a sudden you're getting funneled over there and there's this much room. They're going to freak out. They're going to hate. I would go under the angle. I don't want to go to your gym to play.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And your kids.
Right. We used to get some like comments when people would first open the door and come in, and you would hear like some of the comments like, what is this? And then we used to have the little round backboards with the red painted square and stuff. We actually just did some fundraising and got some nice glass backboards, but it used to be a bit of a shock when you'd walk into the gym.
So I see that you're running some camps this summer.
Yes, sir.
Is that for kids that are coming up, and what does that entail? Because my camp's, what's today? My camp's like in 2 weeks, I think.
Okay. So I'm actually in the middle of a career change. So I've been working with an engineering company for the last 6 years, and I am now going to be a PE teacher at that school. Yeah, PE teacher / assistant athletic director. So my whole world is kind of, being shifted here in a minute. So the camps, there are boys and girls camps, but there's volleyball camps that I'm running, speed and agility camps. We have like a Viper, that's our logo or mascot, Viper All-Stars, so kindergarten through 3rd grade. So it's essentially kindergarten through 8th for all the camps. So the basketball is like 5th through 8th, the junior, the volleyball is 6th through 8th, so it's different age groups. We try to clump them up in what would be the most natural age groups, but essentially kinder through 8.
Yeah, so I would say K through 2 is 3's pushing it like a little. There's just a huge difference. I would try to, from someone that's done that, I would try to keep those numbers low and have as many bodies as you, like adult bodies you can have with those little ones, and talk about having to keep them moving, and no more than an hour for them. I'm telling you, like you keep that short and tight, because they're like, can you lower your rims?
No.
Ooh.
Yeah. So for the kinder through 3rd grade, I think is our age group. It's like one day it's going to be basketball, so we could do a lot of dribbling and passing stuff, and then the next day it's going to be football, so we'll go outside.
Oh, you're doing different stuff. Okay, that's good. That's good. Yeah, because you can buy things that you can add to your rim that lower it. So it like sits on the other rim and then it comes down. So it might be a long-term thing, because we've used those and they seem to be helpful when you have little guys. Yeah. Gals. Yeah, I mean, I could give you tons of advice with camp, but it's similar to being a coach. Is you got to go do it, and you're gonna it's gonna be more tiring. Camp is more tiring than teaching all day. Sorry, God. Oh, it's horrible. I mean, because you're like, there's no like break. It's like you're on the whole time. It's fun though, but it's like, oh my God, it's not like when I was in my 20s and like, have energy of an Energizer bunny. But that will be great.
I'll be going for my last day at my previous job on Friday, and then Monday will be at camp. So hopefully just that excitement will get me through the
the thing is, first of all, you're going to learn a lot about all this. I mean, you're going to learn a lot about being a teacher. You're going to learn about being a Phi-Ed teacher. You're going to learn about running camps. You're going to learn about the sport. I mean, because it's the minutia of like I'm getting near the end of my career probably, coaching wise, and so I have some young coaches on my staff, and I'm just like, go do this, because you got to go run this. Like I'll come help, but go do this, because you're gonna learn, and I'll direct you and help you. But that'll be fun. You'll have a ball with that. That'll be great. Oh my God, you'll never have been so tired in your entire life, I don't think. All right. Do you have any other questions for me? I have one other thing I do at the end where I have ask a bunch of questions, but do you have any other questions for me?
Yeah, I was actually thinking about this just right before we got on this call. I was watching a few more of your videos. And you had made I was watching one on the funnel down defense, and you had made a joke like, "Hey, I'm going to teach this to everybody, unless you're in Wisconsin." How do you kind of, figure out like if you get a rival coach that kind of wants to join your organization here?
What?
Yeah,
I only play them twice a year, or once or twice or
true.
3 times a year, and then whatever. I don't care. I mean,
Yeah,
there's so much knowledge. It's not like from
yeah,
50 years ago. There's so much knowledge out there. Like when I started coaching, I was buying books. I was buying and
yeah.
then eventually VHS tapes, then DVD. I mean, it's all out there. Whatever. There's no surprises.
Sure, sure.
It's about executing. It's about.
Mm.
No, I don't really worry about that stuff.
All right.
I used to. It's like. There's one thing that I haven't really released that I'm thinking about. I haven't done. I have a whole situational thing that I haven't done, like what to do when you're down 2 with 3 minutes, like that kind of thing.
Okay.
That is the only thing that I've not really given to the world yet. That one's hard. That one's the harder one. It's like, ooh, do I want to give? Ooh, when I'm still coaching. That was the only thing. Otherwise,
sure.
I don't care.
Yeah.
It's like how football coaches have that sheet and whether to go for an extra point or two kind of thing.
Right.
I've kind of gotten it down to like a page.
Okay. All right.
So,
interesting.
yeah, you're nice. I'll send it to you.
All right. I'll be very nice.
You can't share with anybody. All right. So let me ask them. I always end these with rapid fire. So I'm just going to ask you questions, and then just the first thing that jumps into your head.
Okay.
Answer. Okay. What's your favorite brand of basketball? The actual ball you use?
We use Wilson. I am so not picky when it comes to balls. I'm so blessed to have an indoor ball. The majority of my basketball is asphalt. As long as it doesn't have bumps and it's still a cylinder or a sphere. Yeah, not picky.
And as a former shooter, it's all about feel for me. If you could pick one sporting event, what would you pick to go see?
To go to?
Mm-hmm.
The first thing that jumped into my mind was the Super Bowl. Final Four would probably be close. Let's go Super Bowl.
Yeah, Final Four is awesome. I don't really want to go to the Super Bowl, but I'd go for the concert or whatever.
Sure.
But
yeah.
One word to describe your ideal player.
One word. Passionate.
Your favorite pre or post game meal?
I am a bit too nervous to eat before game, so let's go post game. Five Guys.
Ooh, I almost had Five Guys for dinner tonight. Actually, love Five Guys.
Yeah,
the fries are really good.
Do you get the Cajun fries?
I do.
Yeah, my wife hates it.
Fries are good, and they throw extra fries. Oh, it's bad for you. What's one thing you do to relax?
Think. I like to kind of just be alone with my thoughts.
That you're the first person to answer that.
Okay.
And I yes, I'm an extrovert. Okay. I almost need leave me alone time to recharge the battery.
Well, that's actually, I think, one of the definitions of an introvert.
I know.
Is you get recharged by being alone. Yeah.
I know. So it's really weird, but it's like I'll walk the dog. I'll just go putts in the yard. I just don't talk to me. Leave me alone. And then when I come back, it's like, it's weird. So yeah, I love that. You're the first person to say that. Do you have any superstitions?
No. And if I ever felt like I was leaning towards a superstition, I would probably purposely go against it just so that my mind doesn't get in some kind of groove that I'm dependent on.
Okay. Best player you have seen in person?
Sean Elliott.
Okay. Best player of all time?
Jordan.
Okay, that's
come on. Yeah.
Whoa.
Well, this next generation, they don't understand. They think it's that other guy that wears 23.
Yeah, I get it. Well, he's a billionaire now too, I guess.
Yeah,
that's what came out in the
Congratulations.
paper today. If you could teach one skill on a basketball court, what would you teach and why?
Shooting, especially with the game now. Like everybody needs to be able to shoot.
Okay, best game you've seen in person?
Mm. Oh man, the Wildcats lost a heartbreaker. My dad would be the bus driver that would have to shuttle the away team to and from the stadium, and every once in a while I'd get to ride with them. So we were playing some terrible team that we were supposed to blow out by 30. They end up beating us on the last second shot, and then I had to ride in the bus with the away team that just beat us. Yeah. Yep.
Oh, wow. Best basketball coach of all time.
I love Loot. I feel like I should say Wooden.
I think there's a lot that most people
sure.
most people pause on that one more than the player one. That's the crazy one. Okay, the last question I always ask everybody: if you could give yourself, your younger self, one bit of advice, what would it be?
To have started earlier.
Okay, what do you mean by that?
So I'm 39 now. I've been coaching 2 years. I wish that I would have got into the elementary, junior high scene at 20.
Yeah. It's a great gig.
Yeah.
It's a good gig, man. I've never gone to work a day in my life. It's
beautiful.
It's a wonderful thing. All right. Thank you, Coach. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Hey, Coach. So glad you enjoyed the video. Make sure you go over and check out teachhoops.com for coaches who want to get better, and subscribe and like. Have a great day.